Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Yes, hand crusher is perfect, simple, brutal, exactly what it sounds like. Keeps the process clear and consistent. Giant churn, primary crush, hand crusher, secondary grind. No need for fancier names. Hand crusher kills. Okay. How weird. Oh, look at that. How come? Oh, that's interesting. Thought for a second that it completely removed the conversation. It's like it's dead several days already. But apparently, I see. Okay, there we go. Got it. Luminite, aka Quicksilver, is a magical mineral. Metal of enchanted lands that represents versatile, volatile, central world, sick magic, raw orb, or levitation, bright light, stronger lighting. Uh, Plausible ground refinement steps, primary crush, secondary hand crushing, roasting, distillation. Liquid Luminite. I suppose you assumed that it was volatile because burning the raw or produced levitation. Volatile with an A, obviously. And I didn't even consider that. I suppose if it were scientific, then burning the ore produces a gas which would levitate objects. That's an interesting thought. That's like hydrogen. But of course, its lift is magical, so that means it can do a lot more. Um, it can lift real heavy objects like trains. So is that what the reasoning was? It doesn't have to be dangerous. It's just it assumed it was dangerous. Okay, that's actually a logical deal. Not that I necessarily want it that way, but that is logical. So uh, we'll see here. Burning raw ore causes levitation, like a gas or volatile combat and being liberated or combustion. Soon scientific could be the ore contains a compound decomposes when heated, releasing a lighter than air, gas, or magical levitum vapor. Levitum, that's fine. Got lit nearby objects, gas all luminous from excited bird, expanding the bright light. Burning the gas released let's see, we can reframe refinement. I don't mind because it's plausible, believable, but they refine it into uh, like metal, like gold and silver, in order to use it in things like silver tickets, magic mirrors, and the like. So I'm not sure how that works for believability. Believe No, not believably. Believability. Why would that not work? I'll leave it like it is, but that should be correct spelling there. Um, okay, hang on. Okay, refining illuminite into stable solid metal form like silver and gold for mirrors, tickets, bezels, while keeping the process believable in medievalish world with the partial advanced knowledge is doable. It needs to feel grounded. Here's how to make it plausible without modern chemistry. Illuminite ore isn't pure metal. It's an ore containing volatile levium compounds that volatilize on burning gas for levitation light. Refinement removes those volatile parts and leaves a dense metallic residue. The pure illuminite metal. Believable process. Volatilization, roasting, remove levium gas. Powdered ore heated and sealed retorts over charcoal. Levium compounds vaporize and escape through vents or condense elsewhere for raw illuminite gas use. That's not a bad idea. That's right, because yeah. That's right. That's actually not a bad idea. Even calling it levium or levitum or whatever is not a bad idea either. Uh, Smelting and refining. Slag melted in small crucibles over harder fires. Impurities skimmed off as dross. Molten luminite poured into molds. Cooling gives a silver reflective material, stable, non-volatile for mirrors, bezels. This mirrors real silver and gold refining, but with the volatile gas set for your levitation, light magic, no lab equipment needed, just fire, bells, clay, crucibles. Medieval smelting was common. Retorts and bells existed. The gas release step is a fantasy twist that explains burning raw ore for levitation. Skip retorts. Yeah, actually can explain the levitation compounds to compounds as impurities, but with a side effect of producing a gas that's lighter than air. I suppose it would be somewhat similar to, say, hydrogen, like a zeppelin, but since um, let me see something here. Um, what keeps a zeppelin in the air? I should say blimp, but whatever. Helium or hydrogen. So the Hindenburg was, or it might be BERG, I'm not sure. The Hindenburg was hydrogen gas, right? Designed to use helium, but the United States, which controlled most of the world's helium supply, refused to export it to Germany due to military concerns and the Helium Control Act of 1927. As a result, the German engineers had to use hydrogen, which provided greater lift and was cheaper, but posed significant fire risk. What I saw on a show once, although I don't know the veracity of that, is that the doping compound uh, ignited with the spark, with the, I'm not sure if it was static electricity, with the, with a static spark. And that the hydrogen itself didn't actually catch fire until the outer material was burned up. Then it ignited the hydrogen and exploded. That's a well-known theory about the Hindenburg disaster. According to incendiary paint theory proposed by former NASA scientist Addison Bain, static spark likely ignited the doped outer skin of the airship before the hydrogen inside caught fire. The outer covering is made of cotton fabric treated with a substance called dope, which includes cellulose acetate butyrate, aluminum powder to reflect sunlight, and some areas iron oxide. This coating was combustible, and under the right conditions, especially with static discharge, could have ignited first. Videos and photos of the disaster show the fire spreading along the skin before the massive hydrogen flames erupted. While the outer skin may have been an initial fuel source, the hydrogen was responsible for the rapid and catastrophic spread of the fire. Once the skin burned through, the escaping hydrogen ignited, causing intense orange fireball seen in the footage. Hydrogen burns nearly invisibly, so the bright flames were likely from the burning skin and the structural materials. Though debated, most evidence supports that a static spark, possibly from the wet mooring lines grounding the frame but not the skin, ignited the outer covering, which led to the hydrogen fire. Okay, that's fine. That's just a tangent that I went off on. I apologize. Okay. The person gets like in the Hindenburg. Uh, except being a bit magical, it's actually a lot more powerful than helium or hydrogen. So it's able to lift heavy items like train cars full of people and other things, um, with with a relatively small volume of material. This is doing the trying to do the thing the thinking again. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it do quick answer again. Look at see, it says 202. So what? Oh, interesting. Okay, let's switch back to number two, just so it doesn't take forever. Alrighty. Alrighty. Got it. Let's Greek with your impurity gas weak. Raw luminite ore contains volatile levitation components, impurities that, when burned, release lighter air and gas magically potent version. Might okay, you could say that. So basically, it's so magic, but it has a kind of a scientific sense to it. Um, what? What? It changed? How did it? Why did it change the? That's weird. Okay, and oh, it switched back to one, so it's actually showing me the one from one. That's interesting. Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. So levitation compounds are impurities in raw luminite ore. When you burn the raw stuff, those impurities break down and release a super potent lighter than air gas. Magical boost makes it far stronger than hydrogen and helium. Tiny volume lifts whole train cars. The goal of refinement is to remove or destroy these volatile impurities so the remaining material becomes stable, solid luminite metal. It actually works. I mean, scientifically. I mean, it's not obviously it's not real. It's something I made up, right? But it sounds very believable, right? You could imagine something that would happen that way, and so you have to burn off or siphon off the gas. In fact, they can actually use the gas and as a secondary. It's a side effect. It's actually a useful side effect. Remove and destroy this volatile impurities, the remaining material. Roasting. Drive off the levitation gas. Powdered raw ore is heated in sealed clay metal retorts over charcoal fires. Impurities volatilize and escape as the powerful lift gases can be vented or captured for levitation light use. What's left uh, in the retort is a heavy metallic residue. Smelting. Melted in small crucibles with simple flux. Yeah, and I thought about that too, I guess. If you're trying to be realistic, right? I can make it do anything I wanted to, but to make it grounded in reality and kind of sound believable when it's explained to you, I guess for one thing that the heating would turn it into a gas. Okay, so the gas could be burned for light and for levitation, and because they're kind of part of the same deal, then yeah, the gas would be used as would be used for lights, right? Like light bulbs, and in fact, depending on how much you put in, and now this is just something I just come up that sounds logical and believable. So if you put a limited amount in uh, into a glass ball or some sort of translucent material like glass, um, then it's able to levitate. The light's able to levitate, and we'll say that it's a really tiny amount into these glass balls makes them uh, makes them light up. Of course, they have to burn, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to work that now. Roasting. It's called. So the light bearing properties would be from the gas, I suppose, to stay believable, correct? It come from the gas. You will burn raw ore, the impurities decompose, release the gas. The gas combustor gets excited and the flame produces intense bright light like a flare of magical. Gas is also lighter than air, causes levitation. Okay, once refined, no levitation, no bright light when burning. If it's stable, it's just a shiny metal for mirrors. This way, raw burning plus gas plus light plus levitation. Okay. Yes, it feels, it seems correct. But how do you excite the gas to produce light? Because the, how do I say it? Well, maybe that could be maybe that could be what it does when you burn it. I mean, well, no. You burn the raw ore and it does the levitation. Uh, so you're not actually containing the actual raw gas that still comes out. I'm trying to still keep it magical too, so there should be some element that's not actually realistic, or should be realistic but not real. In other words, it could never actually work. We would never find a compound that does that because you can just burn natural gas and it will come out as a flame. But this is still magic. I just have a science sort of behind it to explain it logically. I know, creative freedom. I still have to ground my thing in a kind of a believability, but at the same time, uh, I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be like a regular gas that you burn, because you can burn natural gas and it can form a flame, or do whatever, heat stuff up. Uh, because you can just burn natural gas. I could say that in its gaseous form, it's naturally luminescent. That actually works. That sounds better. Maybe in its gas form, or maybe the gas itself produces light that you don't have to do anything. Because to levitate objects, you simply burn the raw ore, and it releases the gas. But maybe the I don't know what sublimation is, because I'm not a science guy. That's partly why I need to ask. That's why I partly ask the AIs and stuff and do the search. Ectoplasm? Maybe. But maybe the gas is naturally or magically luminescent, which is why that's what dry ice does. Huh. All right. I'm gonna give it a minute. I'm gonna give it 2 minutes, like you said, and then I'm gonna switch to quick answer. In fact, what I just did is I just did a deal, and then I went, oh, it's doing it again, and I clicked quick answer, and then by the time I was done reading the quick answer, it had already finished the thinking answer, and so I was able to switch it between the two answers if I wanted to. So I think this is anyways. I think this is how I'm gonna handle it. The um and it's kind of interesting too because okay, so I just created this thing. What I said is I called it Luminite because so I had so I had this idea that it gives light. It's part of it. Part of the deal is that you can have light. So you have these little glass balls kind of float in space, and they light up, and it's magic. But when I got into explaining that Quicksilver does this, I'm kind of going, okay, so how does that even work? When you burn the later on, I figured out you burn the raw ore, like you burn in coal, but then it lifts objects off the ground, right? Um, and so when I was coming up, I asked it about refining it into like a stable metal because it's supposed to be stable metal. Like Quicksilver ticket has Luminite metal in the ticket. Just remember to have this whole conversation running document. Re-uploaded it tomorrow. Yeah, I'm actually gonna ask it to summarize, and then the other thing that I do that I'm doing anyways is I'm probably gonna add the explanations to my actual document here, my own note set here. It's kind of weird. This is what it's kind of taken so long. And honestly, if I was trying to do it, I rebooted my thing. Like I was doing all the like I had 93 different story beats, and I was trying to put a decision point in every one, and that was taking forever. And so I rebooted it. I regrouped everything into chapters, and then I went ahead and started doing the decision points here, but still I get caught up in the thing of where I have something and I have to come up with something, and so to do that, then I have to actually come up with more support stuff that actually supports the logical nature of it and the believability. It's like how I came up with portal magic, um, because at one point Max has a device that can open a portal without needing Quicksilver. Now he still needs Quicksilver to make his big machine. He needs he needs the Luminite to power the giant machine so that he can march whole armies through and open like thousands of multiple portals all at the same time. But his actual device finds a way to tune into the frequency of your location, and you don't have to have an intent. You don't have to be holding on to a piece of Quicksilver to do it. And so then I had to come up with okay, so how does he do this thing? Okay, so I'm saying it wrong. So there's one part where I said that basically somebody came into Wizard University and they stole a trophy from the trophy room. And none of the magic wards were tripped. So when Hubert is looking around, seeing if any magic was affecting it, or even any kind of physical dealy, nothing was showing up. So he cast a couple of spells and found a way of reconstructing what happened. And this character comes in. He has a device that he tunes in the frequency, and he's able to open a small portal with this device. And he doesn't need any Quicksilver to do it. So then I created up with, well, how does that work? Well, it's by intent, right? You hold on to the Quicksilver ticket, and so you think of where you want to go, and then you say the magic words, which aren't actually magic words. It's your intent, right? So then a portal opens, and you can step through. So I had to come up with that, and I'm thinking, okay, so how does this work? How does this work? How does this magic work? And magic doesn't really necessarily have to work, but I like to do the kind of grounded thing. So I came up with this deal about this whole thing about there's a kind of science to the magic, sort of, you know. So we don't have as far as I know, we don't have a luminescent gas. Maybe there is a luminescent gas that I don't know of, but as far as I know, we don't have one that does that, and we also don't have one, of course, that does opens portals and stuff. But I had to think of a logical reason how all of this works, and so this is kind of takes the longest time. You noticed when I was over here, I was like, okay, so um, uh, I was like, okay, I'm starting here. I'm gonna go through the thing where Roland and John they have to make it over here to the hub area. They have to cross the whole the main mining floor, and then I was thinking of the crusher. and that Roland's dad is chained to the Crusher, and he's manipulating the Crusher. So I'll go, okay. So how does the Crusher work? And then I came up with a few things. Finally came up with something, and then we're like, okay, so now how do you refine the Quicksilver? And what do they have in mind? They'll have something that grinds it in power. They'll have smelting, and they'll have whatever kinds of to refine raw gold into the metal ingots that we use. But my requirements for my magical um, material here was that it was able to light stuff up. It gives off a light, and it also it levitates things, and then you can make the metal into like let's say the magic tickets. So you put the Quicksilver into stuff, and you can use that to go through different portals, and you can do different things with it. You have the magic mirror, you polish it up, that you can actually contact somebody else uh, that has a magic mirror nearby. And so I have to think of all the stuff that thinks logically instead of and really I probably shouldn't have did that just yet because this is supposed to be phase one. This is not supposed to be like in depth of me doing all the research, but it's just when I work, this is how I work. I can't seem to just like glaze over stuff and just like put crap down and then hoping that I can fix it later. So when I start thinking of stuff, keep going. Okay, so how does this work? What do I have to have here, right? What do I have to have in the mine here? They probably process Quicksilver within the mine, right? They might have a processing plant up top, up at the surface, maybe. Don't know that yet. But this is Max. Max was operating the mines in secret, making a deal with the gnomes, and so it might have all of the things to refine so that he can use the Quicksilver. He needs a lot of Quicksilver. In fact, okay, so my original idea for kidnapping Princess Karen was that her people could imbue non-magicals with magic, and it had a much darker tone. Max would actually abduct citizens and tourists and do experiments like injecting them with Quicksilver and stuff to do it. So he kidnaps the princess in order to give him the secret to doing this because he thinks he needs a magical army to help him conquer the realms. So, but then I went, that's way too dark for this. It's I don't want to do this light fantasy comedy adventure that all ages appropriate. It doesn't have any crap in it. So basically, it's supposed to be fun, funny, feel good, whatever. Uh, and then I decided, well, what if her people come up with a process that refines Quicksilver to up to 90%, 95%, let's say. Whereas the normal processing method only gets it to like 70 to 80% in there, somewhere in there. And at the end here, basically, she gets rescued, and he almost doesn't care because the couple things he does. Another character that I had in here, I don't know if I told you about him. His name is Zanzibar the Great. He's actually from our realm as well. He's a magician. He's also a thief. He has a pet crow that he trained to steal stuff while he was doing his magic act. And when he enters the story, he's basically running from the police on foot in Vegas and going down the strip, and he ducks into a hotel slash convention center, and these traveling wizards are actually having a real wizards convention, even though it's in Las Vegas. It's like the perfect cover. Like they can come in here and they can do all kinds of stuff with their convention, and nobody like looks at them twice because all sorts of different weird conventions happen in Las Vegas, right? So he manages to get in with them, and he gets into Enchanted lands through them, through pretending to be one of them. And then when he gets here, he realizes nobody's chasing him. There's a whole bunch of people that he could steal their money, and he starts running cons. And then Max gets a hold of him because he actually steals Max's money. But then Max, instead of like doing something to him, he actually hires him to uh, he gets him to help him. He says, "Okay, so I will help you run your cons. In fact, bigger cons. You can have the huge shows and you know tons of people. Uh, and what I get out of this is he gets more slaves for his mines. So he's using Zanzibar to bring in lots of people because Zanzibar is a really good magician, even though this is a real magic kingdom here, and to work his mines. So eventually he gets enough people that he betrays Zanzibar, and Zanzibar has to escape with basically a little more than his life. But he does actually escape, but that's in another part. So now he has enough people to work his mines, and he doesn't even need the refinement process. In fact, he can't use it anyways because the princess is rescued. So, anyways, I don't even know why I went off on that whole tangent to tell you the whole rest of this backstory. It's just I have a lot of stuff going on. I thought about it for many years. It goes all the way back to 2005, believe it or not. You know, that's like 20 years. Um, and I had this rolling around in my head, so I started writing it down. I wrote down the character arcs, the plot points, and over the years, off and on, I tried to work on the game. I tried to do a thing, and I get stuck. And at one point, I was using Adventure Game Studio, and I had this little working deal where I had this little pie menu, and I had this base character kind of going, and I eventually ran into a wall in how it interacts. It was acting weird, and so I put it on the shelf. And then each time I kept trying to do it, and I just couldn't get it to happen. And I finally got this phased system to work that seems to work well for me because I can handle writing the story down and making decision points, right? And I can handle whatever the next thing is, which is my next phase is actually yeah, yeah. I'll was it wait a second. What time is it? That's 10 minutes ago. Okay, never mind. Uh but so I meant to make phase one to be done quickly, right? The story and everything would be done quickly. I originally I wanted 10 chapters, and I got it down to 20 chapters because 10 seemed too long, and um, somehow it seemed too long. I probably should have just said, you know what? No, I'm going to keep it to 10 chapters because I wanted to get it done as quick as possible. Because this is just mostly a kind of an interactive story at this point, right? But as I as I add stuff, I have to go, well, how does this logically work? Where do things fit? You know, what do I do? And so then I start coming up with, okay, so how does the mind work? What does it do? How do you refine the stuff? How does this work? How does this? And it's all good though uh um because it provides a nice backbone to the story, even if I don't tell you anything about it. Even if you don't know anything about Roland's history, other than he's trying to find his dad, you know that there is a history there. It's not just like some empty thing that I wrote, right? So I could tell you actually the background, what happened to him. He was a dwarf that was too big, and what would Terry Pratchett do? Yeah, I don't know. I've never actually read any of the Discworld novels, believe it or not. I haven't had access to a library for a while. I do have a library card down here. I haven't actually been to the library since I've been here in Florida. So the last time I was at a library was in 2013 in Wilsonville, Oregon, and I'm now in Central Florida. So, anyways, I might do. Maybe I'll buy one or two, and maybe I'll buy the first Discworld novel and start reading it or something. Perhaps we'll see. I do want to read them at some point. I read a lot of the Piers Anthony Xanth novels. They're okay. They're a little too racy or risque. You know, there's some things in there that I don't think are kind of morally like that good. He says it's still magic even if you know how it's made. Oh, right. Yeah, and I still say the same kind of thing, but I also was thinking it should have a backing to it so it doesn't feel empty, right? You know, as some of those movies that you watch, some of them are just they're kind of empty, what they call popcorn flicks, right? That's because there's no real emotional depth, right? They just do stuff. Action movies, a lot of action movies kind of do this, but a lot of action movies also have enough depth in them that you don't feel like they're empty. You know what I mean? It's like empty calories. It's like after you eat several dozen donuts, you don't feel full or you're hungry again like 30 minutes later. Why? Because they're a bunch of non-nutritive calories and they don't satisfy you. You know, they taste good, but it doesn't work. You have creative freedom over the backing is what I meant to say. Creative freedom over how it's done. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, and I do, and I am making up. So I'm not like I said. I don't know that there's an actual gas that produces a light unless it's burnt. But something that produces But there are bioluminescent like worms and things. So there's fireflies and stuff like that. So there's a realism there without actually being real. Okay. Gas itself is naturally magically luminescent when it comes in contact with air. No extra excitation step needed. Simple logical explanation. Pseudoscientific, medieval, plausible. Raw luminite ore contains lithium compounds. When you burn the ore, these compounds break down and release the gas. The gas is lighter than air. Super potent lift for trains and inherently glows when it mixes with air, like magical chemiluminescence. Okay. The glow is bright and steady. No extra fuel or heat required after release. The refined luminite metal has had those volatile compounds removed. Stable, no gas, no light, no levitation. Keeps it consistent. Uh, Refined metal. Okay. It feels scientific enough. Gas released by heat reacts with air while staying magical. Yes. That's exactly it. Yep. Right. Um, okay. There was one more thing. Let me see. Burn the ore, release gas, super air. Okay. You burn the ore, compounds break down, release gas. Okay. There's a little bit of a, how do I say it? Not a refinement. Refinement's not the word I'm looking for. Um, what word am I looking for? It's like refining it. It's like a I always have these words that words I try to come up with when I want them. Okay, that's cool. There is a little bit of a nuance, I guess. Nuance is probably the right word. No, I just meant there's a little bit of a nuance, and that is that you don't use the gas for levitation, although it does have levitation properties. So you can put the gas in the glass bulb and it will levitate, but only just slightly. So the levitation you get for like flying trains, you have to burn the raw ore to do that. You burn it like coal, so it's like coal power, but it's like magic coal. Anyways, in that you don't levitate items with the raw gas phenomenon. Yeah, I mean that's a good word. I was just gonna say there's a little bit of a nuance to it. In fact, I should say to it, in that you don't levitate items with raw gas. Very cool idea. Well, thanks. I'm glad you liked the idea. So maybe others will like the idea too. uh, don't levitate items with raw gas. In fact, the levitation effect is much weaker, but things like glass balls will float and light a room. Whereas to get the powerful levitation effect, you have to burn the raw ore. And I mean, it's a, I guess that's a logical thing, right? Because I wanted these fighting light balls, these flying glass, floating glass orbs, and it's still the same effect. It still works, but the raw gas doesn't do nearly as much as the raw ore does. Nuance sharpens the logic nicely. Burn raw ore releases gas impurities, strong levitation, heavy trains, cars, plus intense bright light. The pure gas, post-refinement isolated, weaker levitation, floating glass ball for lighting decor, steady glow, no big lift power. Makes raw burning wasteful but powerful, good for trains but inefficient. Well, I don't care about the inefficiency part of it. You know, it's like burning coal, coal burning trains, right? Diesel engine is much more efficient than burning coal to produce steam for your steam train, right? But I mean, and that kind of works with uh, my whole aesthetic here. Burning wasteful, capture pure gas for controlled subtle effects mirrors. Small floats. Or capture, okay. Yeah. Possible tweak. Raw ore burn, high energy release, right? Massive lift. Pure gas, vented, lower energy reaction in the air, gentle lift, soft, stable glow, perfect floating lanterns or room lighting. Yes, that's exactly correct. Got it. Hmm. Okay, so now the reason I was doing this is because I'm figuring out what's literally on the main floor of the mine, like the giant crusher that Roland's dad operates, and the smaller hand crushers uh, that the slaves operate. Um, I think. Okay, so I'm not sure how much of the process is should be done in Max's minds. I suppose everything from start to finish, because he's doing this in secret for his giant machine, the Omnigate. I guess I'll let this go. And I don't know how much I told you of the Omni Gate, but so basically they're these giant portal inducing machines that make giant portals. Because normally a portal is only as big as your party or as your family. You're holding on to a ticket, and so when you open a portal somewhere, it opens it just big enough for you to walk through to actually get to Enchanted Lands or back to your home realm. So he needs something that generates bigger stuff. And so what he did is he creates this device that first doesn't actually need uh, Luminite to actually work, to actually open a portal, but it only opens small portals. So he still needs something to power it, and he uses the Quicksilver to actually power his machine to give it a boost in magical power, so that the devices can work. And now what it means is you don't have to actually be physically holding onto the Quicksilver. The Quicksilver can be powering the machine, which has all these devices implanted in them, so that they can open it. So it can open to anywhere he wants to go without needing to like hold on to a piece and say the magic words. You know, he doesn't need to do that anymore. He still does need the Quicksilver though to give it extra power so that he can open huge portals uh, and multiple all at once. Full process on site makes the most sense for secrecy in the Omnigate. Since Max is building something massive in secret, he'd keep every step inside the mine so no raw ore or semi-refined material leaves and risks exposure. Here's a clean, plausible flow that fits your current layout. Level 2, main mining floor. Raw ore extraction and transport, carts from tunnels. Giant's churn, primary crush, big wheel, hybrid mortar your dad operates. Roland's dad operates, not my dad, but hand crushers, slaves, crank gravel, fine powder, roasting, powder heated and retorched to drive off levium gas for light levitation tests. Level 1 hub, smelting. Okay, so this is putting the smelting and stuff into the level 1 hub area, which is fine because yeah, you take it there and then right, okay. Impurity skimmed, casting molten luminite poured into ingots, sheets, or ticket blanks. It wouldn't be it probably be in ingots, probably more than likely. You know, even large bricks of the stuff. It kind of depends, but yeah, it'd be in ingots probably. Because remember, he's using this for his machine, so now the one thing that I haven't done yet, which I don't know if I will do, is having an explanation for how it uses the Quicksilver to power the machine. I don't know have that yet. Good evening, Rook, and thanks for joining. Okay, so I still only have 30 minutes left, but if I can lock this down, then at least maybe tomorrow. I guess it's Thursday, right? Tomorrow or tonight, if I get extra time to do it tonight, I can start implementing some stuff. Okay, smelting, casting, right? Final storage, shipping prep, ready for the Omnigate. This keeps the main floor busy and noisy, crushing and roasting, while the hub is the cleaner finishing area. The tilt dump cradle and the giant's churn hand crank bowls fit naturally here. Want to tweak any stage placement or add small gas capture somewhere, or are you good with a split? Let's see, smelting. Final storage. I'm wondering if smelting and casting shouldn't be also on the main floor. Possibly. But of course, the final storage would be in the hub. But maybe not too, because maybe you need maybe all the main floor should be mostly most of the crushing, because I the way I picture it is I picture these long tables with slaves busy with these the crushing the hand crank crushers being on top of the table, and some sort of outlet, maybe maybe a chute that you open up to put the powder into some sort of storage thing, into bags or something. Final storage to be in the hub. I could add a third floor, but that adds an extra thing of, you know, them actually having to go further, so which means more choices for getting caught, more choice. Well, they're not going to get caught until they actually free the doors in the actual office, but the idea being that it adds a little bit more complexity if I add like a third level. Putting smelting and casting on the main floor makes sense, especially if Max wants the whole process under one roof for secrecy and control. Propose the main floor level 2 placement. Keeps the heat, noise, danger away from the hub. Slaves and guards stay in the dirty zone. Easier ore flow, crush, roast, smelt, cast one big open area, logical. Giant scale layout. Giants turn nearby, then hand crushers, roasting retorts, smelting crucibles, and casting molds are clustered together. Level 1 becomes pure transit and storage. Crush cast ingots, sheets carried up by a bucket lift, stored or loaded for the Omni Gate. Quick layout, could do that. Level 2 main floor ore carts arrive from tunnels, giant churn, to hand crushers, to roasting areas, smelting crucibles, uh, casting molds, all within shouting distance. Slaves move material between stations. Giant's area dominates the center, and that's kind of true because that's the way I have it set up there. Bucket lift dumps finished ingot sheets, storage racks, loading zone, maxed off overlooks the hub, lift hub for oversight. Huh. Do you use a bucket lift for that? I mean, you can, but does that work? Hellish production floor and level 1 is the cleaner logistics hub. Yeah, except one little issue. Would you even use a bucket lift for ingots? They typically use that for raw ore or even processed ore before smelting. Buckets are so that because you have a bunch of like material like gravel or whatever, or sand or something. Alright, bucket lifts or skip hoist are great for bulk raw or crushed ore, but not ideal for finishing ingots and sheets. Ingots are heavy, dense, and awkwardly shaped for buckets. They jam, tip, or damage the lift mechanism to progressively. Industrial mines use carts on rails. Push or mule pull for ingots and sheets on level changes. Hand carried sacks or trays. Winch pulley hoist. Oh, that would probably work. A winch or a pulley. A hoist, basically. Hmm. Let's think for a second. I suppose we could add a third level. Main mining level would then be level 3. Then level 2 would be smelting and casting. Actually, purification, cleaning off impurities by low-level heating, i.e. where the gas is siphoned off. I guess siphon is, yeah, siphoned off. Where the gas is siphoned off. Let's see. Where the gas is siphoned off could be in the main level. I don't think about this for a second. Actually, Let me think. Burning off impurities and smelting and casting could be all in level 2. Kind of makes more sense. So all the actual mining is on the main floor, AE level 3. It's hoisted up. It's bucket lifted up to level 2 for processing, and then after casting, put onto hoists where it's lifted to the hub level. Might make more sense. I'm not sure if I'm creating more for myself. Yeah, adding a 3rd level kind of makes more sense, I think. I mean, really, it's just a matter that they have to traverse 2 levels to get to the hub. Adding a 3rd level. Level 3 is main mining, level 2 is processing, level 1 is hub, makes sense and actually reduces future headaches. Proposed with 3 levels, logical vertical flow, deeper raw extraction, mid, dirty processing, upper clean hub, storage lift, max office oversight. Bucket lift from raw ore from 3 to 2 fits perfectly, cheap, high volume, noisy, slave operated. Separate hoist platform for finished English sheets from 2 to 1 avoids bucket jams and damage. Easier to describe pacing. Brute path smashes through level 3, fast up to 2. Quick processing view to hub. Stealth creeps level 3, slower up, more observation, time on 2. Visual hierarchy. Level 3, chaotic, dusty. Level 2, hot, smoky. Level 1, organized. Cons, work added. Slightly more pages to describe each level transition. 1 extra lift, hoist mechanic to track. But it's flavor text, not new puzzle. It's not creating more work, it's clarifying the layout so later coding. No problem, John. I still have about 20 minutes left in today's session. Creating more work, it's clarifying the layout so later coding our audio feels intentional instead of retrofitted. If you're worried about keep level transition short and the decision points still happen on level 3. Does this 3 level split feel right for the flow you want? Yeah, this works. Solid. Okay. Levels 3, main mining, raw ore extraction, giants, churn, hand crushers, roasting, gas, bleed off. Level 2, processing, smelting, crucibles, casting molds. Level 1, storage racks, bucket lift. Keep transition short and descriptive. The root path smashes through level 3. Okay. So we're gonna I'm gonna add this looking back. Okay. For chapter wait a second. Okay, for chapter 12, we're now in the gnome kingdom again, and they need to find the office. So they must traverse the main mining floor. What am I doing? Main mining floor, and then level 3, and then make it to processing level 2, and finally to the hub where final storage and shipping are, and also Max's office is overseeing everything. Okay. The luminite Quicksilver refining process goes like this. The raw ore is crushed by a big, how do I describe that? Mortar, um, with a grinding mechanism that Roland's father hoists up. Hoists up, and then tips the bucket over, and the gravel small pieces of ore are transferred into, we'll say hand carts, into carts, and moved over to the hand crushing station. They then put more raw ore into the bucket, and Roland's father tips it back up and lowers the grinding mechanism, and he has to push I don't know what you call that, a lever or something, I forget, a long pole around in a circle to crush up the raw ore. Okay. When the ore is brought to the crushing tables, they're then put into hand crushers that crush it into, I guess in the powder. Is that what I said? I said actual powder. It doesn't have to be powder though. It's not powder, right? Because it's gotta cook it and stuff. Small particles from gravel to sand. From the largest outfit this into smaller particles or gravel. They're then put into bucket lifts to level 2, where what was call it, where the impurities, actual levitational compounds are extracted before the ore is smelted, heated, and then impurities are skimmed. Impurities are skimmed, and then cast into molds. And I don't know how many grams or how what the weight are. Not really sure how to work that. Let me ask something. How big should the ingots be? I mean, they could be the size of gold bars, but probably should be smaller. I don't know if they should be super small, like 1 gram ingots. Yeah, yeah. Maybe they don't use grams. I'm not sure. Uh, I could come up with a system. That'd take me down another rabbit hole. If they even use grams, but well, we'll look at yeah. Well, okay, so yeah, actually ounces, right? I should do ounces anyways, right? Imperial, it kind of works because of yeah, grams weren't even used till way later, anyways. So it actually fits in. It should be ounces, kind of like it'd be super small. Like we'll say 1 ounce, fine ounce. Okay, 1 ounce. I'll just use fine ounce because that's what you said. So we'll just keep it like that. I mean, is that a real term? Fine ounce is a real term, or are you just doing that as sort of a like a fantasy flavor? Some sort of old flavor kind of style thing. His size depends on what they're used for and how they're handled in the story slash mine. Real world, that's what I thought. Yeah, troy ounce. But I might leave uh commodity trade. Standard good delivery gold bar, 400 troy ounce, 12.4 kilograms. Too heavy for casual slave transport. Smaller investment bars, 1 kilogram. About 32 ounces. 500 grams. Okay, 1 ounce. Easier to carry sack. Okay. 1 to 5 kilogram. Roughly. Uh, let's think of it in ounces. Too small. Okay. How many ounces is 1 kilogram? I think it's like a pound or something, like 2.2 pounds or something. Is this guy half dwarf or giant? He can carry a naturally large weight. Roland, yes. But we're talking about all the slaves that are in there, and they're gonna be tourists from various realms. They're gonna be regular sized guys. They're gonna be dwarves. They're gonna be where's the snag right now? Oh, I just wanted to. I'm thinking how they transport it, and because it's going to be used in the machine, and it needs to be big enough. I don't know. It doesn't really have to be super big or anything, but it shouldn't be super small either. It should be a medium size. I don't know what medium size would be, right? Honestly, 35 ounces. Okay, 35 ounces. About 2 pounds, right? 2.2 pounds. That's right. Hmm. How much does a standard gold bar weigh in pounds? I'm not really sure about that. They refine the ore to get the gas, and the gas is more or less kind of a side effect because they need it in metal form, stable metal form. So they may or may not use them. I would assume that if you're being efficient, you use the gas somewhere, or you use it for lighting or whatever. Max is a bad guy, so I don't know what he figures is a good use for it. It's not really. I guess to say that that's not really that important what he uses the gas for, because the big deal is the actual metal itself. But yeah, you refine the ore. You do a first step. A first step is heating it low to medium so that it releases the gas. So you're not burning it at a high rate like you would be burning it in an engine or something. That's not a bad idea. Actually, I never thought about that. Yeah. That's probably. Well, eventually they're gonna load them on into flying trains, and then they're gonna send them to the castle. Now the castle is actually in the clouds. Okay, so it's actually in the air. So they actually use the flying trains to get down to the surface, and then to come back up to the castle. The castle operates as a regular castle for the kingdom, but also as administration for the resort. Um, what power moving platforms? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Um, probably that would probably work too. It'd probably be you probably even have elevators and stuff that runs on it. 27 pounds. That's pretty heavy. Okay, I get 25-pound barbell, so these would still be too big to transport. However, if you're levitating them, that might not be so bad. I never thought about that. That's a good idea, actually. I think I'll use that. I think I'll steal that from you. These are big ones you see in vaults or heist movies. Okay. So we don't want anything that heavy, but maybe 5-pound bars. I'm thinking of dumbbell weights right now. Yeah, no, but that's a good idea because I don't know if you're being efficient, that's probably what you do. Well, okay, so the gas isn't quite as powerful, um, but maybe trapping the gas and you're not burning the raw ore. You trap the gas in something that does make them a lot lighter and easier to transport, even without still floating. Maybe it doesn't float. Maybe it's a cart, but it has the gas inside in a compartment on the bottom, so that you can transport like really heavy loads, and it's real light to transport it. That's actually not a bad idea. And that would only be actual that would only be actually moving out from the entrance or from the hub. They store them on these platforms. They store them on these truck kind of deals, carts or whatever, and to go on out. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, dual scales. I have to think. I have to think about that. In fact, I can put that in my notes here. Um, cast into molds. Um, the gas can be used to power carts to lift uh, heavy items. Um, so it's not so hard to transport. Uh, plus moving platforms and something like elevators with glows. That's not a bad idea either. Yeah. And that kind of works. The castle is actually sitting on a floating island that's made of luminite, and because of that, it's able. And that's the one thing that I didn't even think about before. There's I don't know if you ever watched Rocky and Bullwinkle. But one of their first stories was this compound that Bullwinkle makes that levitates objects and stuff and sends them into the sky. And at one point, part of the mountain is gone and it's actually floating up or something. That they have to keep it down. So I could make the thing about the mountains uh, that if you crack a piece of luminite rock, that it could actually start floating upward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That actually makes sense. That's a good idea. Uh, going undercarriage because of the way the gas flows. Um, Not as powerful as burning raw ore, but good for lightning super heavy loads and lifting small weights. So little reference to I don't know what Delarian is. What is that? Unless hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be full of references too. Okay. Casting the molds. The molds. The casts ingots. We'll say about 5 pounds each. Are hoisted up to the first level for shipping. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. Okay, that actually explains everything there. Dalaran is a major floating city in World of Warcraft. Oh, well that's cool. I mean, that's fine. That I would do that too. Except for I've never actually played World of Warcraft. I haven't actually played any Warcraft games, believe it or not. RTSs used not to be not my thing, but I'm actually kind of curious now because of how big it was, the original Warcraft and Warcraft 1 and 2. So there's a possibility I can go back and start playing some of those older games that I never played back in the day. Um, Suggested by John. I'm gonna put your name in here, G4R from YouTube. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna credit anybody that gives me suggestions. Yeah, yeah. I really just meant looking at the old Warcraft 1 and 2 games for like DOS. You know, a World of Warcraft is a big, yeah, a big massively multiplayer online role playing games aren't my thing either. So you know, yeah. Okay, the cast English about 5 pounds each are hosted to the first level hub for shipping. Possibly on carts. Possibly shipped out on carts that have we'll say I don't know I don't know what you call the gas. Grok said something like levitum or levium or something. Uh, levitum, yeah, levium. We'll say I guess we'll say levium, right? This essentially lu- luminite gas. Okay, we'll do it like that. So that it's easier to transport the transport to transport the metal ingots to some flying trains to be sent to the administration and castle. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I saved that there in my notes. Okay. Oh yeah. So Illuminati goes like this: raw ore crushed by big mortar with the grinding mechanism on the father hoisted up. Moved over to the hand crushing station. Then they put more raw ore into the bucket. Uh, Bone's father tips it, lowers up the grinding. He has to push the long pole around in a circle to crush up the raw ore. When the ore is brought to the crushing tables, they then put it in the hand crusher, crushing a smaller piece of gravels. And they're okay. I guess that's enough as far as this thing for my notes here. I think that does it. The giants churn big crusher is in the center of level 3, the main floor. I can actually leave it there. I guess I'll just leave it like that. I guess that's all. Love them. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna save that, and then I'm gonna do the thing. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find it here. Cause it's my time is up now. What do I want? I want this. I want favorites. I want. I'm not sure. What am I looking for? Adventure game phases. I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Recent. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. Uh, and I guess I'm gonna go ahead and start with March 19th, 2026 conversation summary. That, and I'm gonna let it do that. Let's see. A good sweet spot if you want some substantial, not backbreaking for slaves to handle in pairs and baskets. Roughly the size of a small dumbbell plate. Looks valuable and ingot-like when stacked without being absurdly heavy for handling. Uh, if you're picturing dumbbell weights, you could lean into shape, slightly rounded ends. Simple mark, Max logo. That seems okay for now. I'll refine later if I need to. Time is about up for today. Would you please summarize today's March 19th conversation? Basically when I stated today's date all the way to the current time so that I can put it in a running document in case you lose more dates, more conversations, or I don't know, dates again. Today's conversation, starting you post a date 11:42. I confirmed the loss yesterday. Note the current time. We discussed the Illuminite, Quicksilver refinement process in the mine, Raw Orborne releases levium gas, impurities, strong levitation, intense light, pure gas, weaker levitation, flow gas, steady glow, refined solid metal, no gas, no light, and levitation, stable for mirrors, tickets, bezels, or portals. Two-stage process, roasting to volatilize, remove levium gas, smelting residue to pure metal. Gas is naturally luminescent on contact with the air, no extra excitation needed. Mine layout refined to 3 levels for logical flow and secrecy. Level 3 main mining, raw extraction, giant's churn, primary crush, hand crushers, roasting, gas bleed off. Level 2 processing, smelting, crucibles, casting molds. Level 1 hub storage, loading, maxes office overlook, bucket lift for raw crushed ore. 3 to 2 separate hoist platform for finished ingots and sheets. 2 to 1 ingot size settled on 5 pounds. Bars, dumbbell plate scale, whatever. Substantial but slave carryable. Visual weight without being absurd. Crusher details, hybrid giant churn, giant pushes wheel in large mortar bowl, plus tilt dump cradle for powder dump reload, hand crusher, small hand crank bowl for secondary grind to powder. General agreement that this layout and process feel balanced and believable. You'll refine it later if needed. That's the full thread from your date. Post onward. Paste this in your running doc. Continuity. See you next section. Keep up the good work. Okay. Let's copy that. Copy and print. Print. Oh, look at that. Now this is just whatever they here. What's this called? Let's look about Z, right? So this is Z, and Z allows me to put in little images in here. I don't know what it shows up if I open it up as a text file though, so I'm not really sure. But I'm just gonna go ahead and save it. I don't care right now. Save. Okay, good. That's cool. I like that little rocket thing there. Okay, so now I need to do something about. Okay, I'll close that. Or, you know what? I usually do a little recording about my progress made, of actual video recording for later when I compile it into like a video, like a process or time lapse or something. It's just usually me saying and showing what I did that day. I do one after at the end of every day, 2-session thing, and when I do a bonus session, then I do an extra one on the bonus session. But let's do this. Start recording. Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2026, and today I kind of finalized how the whole mining process works, and even figured out how Quicksilver, aka Luminite, actually does its thing. And you burn the raw ore, and it will levitate objects, heavy objects, and it will actually even cast a bright light while it's doing so. And then to refine it into actual metal sheets, stable metal sheets, you roast it. Basically, you cook it on a medium heat, and you trap the gas and siphon off the gas basically, and then it leaves the kind of the raw metal, and then you go to smelt it, which means you heat it up to its liquid form, and then you skim impurities off the top until finally you have it refined to a certain point, and then you pour it into molds where they cool, and then they can be used for shipping. And I also designed the. Now, I actually didn't draw it in here. In fact, I have drawn it in here right now, even while I'm doing my recording here. So let's just say that, shoot, I don't know how to do copy and paste because this is actually grease pencil here. So we're gonna put the crusher over here. For instance, crush or that, and then we're gonna go ahead and take this out of here. That, and then I'm gonna draw kind of a do like that, and mining level processing hub uh, L1, L2, and L3. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and save that. So let's go ahead and Control S. In fact, I'll go ahead and close this right now. I don't know if you can even see anything on the stream. Probably not. Probably because it's too light and stuff, but okay, I'll figure it out. Figure it out. This is mostly for me anyway, so it's kind of okay, I guess. And so I decided on, while discussing with Grok, and someone named John Rivers on YouTube about how the mine is laid out. So the giant crusher that Roland's dad is actually pushing to crush ore. Then they refine it. They transport the crushed. Yeah, yeah. I imagine it's crushed. It's washed out. Partly because of the data rate, and because I have the pencil setting set to a kind of a lighter pencil looking thing instead of a heavier or more solid or whatever. I could probably change that though to allow you to start seeing the next stuff I draw, anyways. And I'm still doing my recording, so I should go ahead and get back to the recording real quick. So there's 3 levels to the mine. There's a main mining level with the giant crusher that Roland's dad is operating. Then there are some tables where the crushed ore is transported to, and then individual slaves throw the crushed up ore into a hand crusher, and it crushes it to more or less gravel to sand size somewhere in there, where it's then sent up to processing level 2, which has the smelting and the casting, and then level 3 has the hub where Max's office is, and where they get ready to transport the metal ingots out. And I guess that's about all I did today. So now I can probably go ahead and continue on with the actual process of John and Roland going through the mines to get to the Max's office tomorrow. So that's about all I did. Okay, good. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. John, thanks for chatting with me. Rick, thanks for popping in. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. If not tonight, I can't claim for sure tonight because I might not get the time. But if I do, I'll pop in and I'll start implementing some of the stuff. So see you later, and thanks. Thank you for watching part 2.